Hello and welcome to Portman Road. This sound indicates an important announcement.
Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to another Thursday night match preview show with me, the host, the governor. Beers up. Hopefully this week we'll be celebrating pints and points. We stand on the verge of another weekend under Paul Lambert's managerial reign at Ipswich Town. This week it's Crewe, the lucky team, playing the blue and white. They haven't kept a clean sheet in, I think, at least a couple of weeks. So is one on the horizon for Crewe, Alexandra? More than likely. However, they looked good last time against us, but we did beat them. So maybe a chink of hope to keep hold of. I don't know. I have the will, and I have several, or two people particularly joining me. First and foremost, it is, of course, the Joker of Talking Town. Mr. Adam Flatt. Welcome in, Flatt. How you doing?
I'm good, Martin. How are you, mate? All right?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm excited because the football's coming up. It's the weekend. All those different things that ritually mean stuff, but there's also that nervousness because you feel the season. It's almost like you stood on the Titanic and you didn't think it was sinking, but now you're seeing the waves lapping up the deck, and you're thinking, shit, this thing's going down.
It's a pivotal moment, isn't it? I think we're coming up to, because isn't this the last game that we've got with a full week before we get into this mad hectic schedule going into up to Easter? I think so. It's feel like it's a bit of a. Seems crazy to say it, innit? Crewe is an enormous game on Saturday. I mean, as big as the last game, I suppose. But yeah, it's
absolutely.
It's got all the feels of a big one, isn't it? On
absolutely.
Saturday.
And to answer the members of the Talking Town Tavern, this is a Adnams Ghost Ship that the governor is drinking. So beers up. Flatty, have you got a beverage on the go?
I'm on the Pepsi Max. I'm a bit boring. I haven't had a drink for about 6 months, so yeah.
It's all right. We serve soft drinks at the tavern. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Bag of crisps with that as well. Right. We want to hear from you guys in the chat as always. So get yourself involved, particularly as we bring the wheel in. And as always, you can support us at Talking Town via our Ko-Fi links. Right. I've been working on some intros today. It's no longer Christmas, but it is the Fisherman.
No. Pretty Caroline, stone cold stunner. She was a winner, started working at the dime. Serves this love of mine to count your blessings, 'cause it's telling fifth. Put you down and leave you dead, don't make them scared. Yeah, it's the ugly truth. How they come and hook you.
I don't know what to say on that, really, other than
Mr. Brown himself, the fisherman comes.
How you doing? Brilliant. Oh, do you know what? That is absolutely brilliant. Well done on that, Martin. Well done.
Thank you very much. It's not on Christmas, but we've still got the good music there. How are you, mate? You well?
Yeah, actually, yeah, not too bad today. Yourself, guys?
Have you calmed down since following Tuesday night's sort of habitual meltdown from the club, from the fans, from everybody? Have you calmed down yourself?
I think we've just come to accept it, haven't we? And that's a sad thing, isn't it? We have. A lot of us have just come to accept.
We've got Mike Brown, Fisherman Mike Brown. I just don't think you understand. From Cali. That's brilliant, Callie. We love it. As always, we do have the wheel. Several topics from the Talking Town community, which is town community this week, are on the wheel. I'm going to call it this week the Paul Lambert Wheel of Fortune, because quite frankly, how I'm not sat here having already done a live show about how he's been sacked, I will never know. He must be the cat with 9 lives. But how many lives has he got left, Mike?
Sure. Well, apparently he's got 25, hasn't he?
Well, this is it. I do not know. On the wheel, though, we do have several topics. Anything you want to add to the wheel before we crack on? Is there anything you guys want to talk about before to add to the wheel? Is there anything that's come up over the week for you?
I think you've got it all covered on that wheel, haven't you? I think. What else can you say, really? Do you know what I mean? I think it's.
I think it's quite good, actually.
Yeah, there's plenty of decent topics to
Let's
get back
do it.
into on there.
It's a good wheel, isn't it?
Bit of ska music as well. Here we go.
Cool, it's a bit early.
Oh, I know. I'll wheel it again. That's like us on our league form. We're shot out of the gate, only to probably collapse halfway through. Fucking hellfire. What's going on here? Let's remove it and do it again. Oh, remember, Flatty, remind me. We want Crewe predictions at the end.
At the end, score predictions.
Here we are. Not all bad. Elkan Baggett has signed a new contract at the club. What do we feel about this? I know, Mike, you were very critical during the week because Rosani is linked with Brentford and he's not playing. What is this? Is this just a player signing a deal for Evans to cash in, or is it something we can be excited for as a fan base?
I think a bit of both, really, isn't it? I think possibly. I mean, look, let's be honest. I was one of them. I thought, well, if I was Baggett's parents, would I want to stay at Ipswich? But, I think it's a lot to do with the Clug and Dyer maybe in the in that lower part of the teams. Dealing with the youngsters. Maybe there's a bit of foresight. Maybe there's a bit of. Maybe they think, well, Lambert ain't going to be here much longer, so there could be only more positive on the side on the possibly future. But yeah, it's a great signing. I mean, he's probably looking to make a bit of money out of him, but the reality is, look, he signed a contract with us, and we've kept him when other teams haven't got him. So they've got to take some positive out of it, haven't we? Really,
Joker.
I don't know. Do you reckon he's got one eye on next season with the? When you talk about the rebuild, Martin, that he might have a clearer pathway to first team football next season, potentially, depending on what happens in the summer, depending on what happens with the manager. 19 players out of contract in the summer. I suppose whoever is maybe advising him is thinking, you might be regular League One football next season for you if you play your cards right here. So. No, it's good though. It's good we've tied him down. I think, this place doesn't need any more doom and gloom if he'd have left and signed for somebody else, does it really? Let's be honest. So, I think there might be one eye on next season for him, really. We think no McGuinness. I don't know if any of our other back four are out of contract. I think we tied Wolfenden down. I don't know what Toto or James Wilson's situations are.
I think Willow is out of contract. I think if I remember correctly, Willow's out of contract. I think Enciala may well be, but with an option. If this is all from memory, so they're two particular players. Obviously, Corian Darber's out on loan at the moment. He will come back. But if you're going to do that, if you're going to start looking at one eye for next season, and let's say, for example, just pluck it out of the air, Dyer and Evans have talked about this, and Dyer is the next manager, and this is somebody who Dyer wants around. You're going to need a Dyer manager, aren't you? Because, and I mean Kieran Dyer, because Paul Lambert or a manager in survival mode isn't going to play a young lad, particularly of Elkan Baggett's age.
No, I suppose this is where there's lots of mixed messages coming out from the club. Is this season shit or bust? Or doesn't it not matter? Is it all about maybe next season when we've got the rebuild potentially? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. You don't want a Paul Lambert who is fighting for his life, throwing these kids in because he's not going to do it. As I say, I think if James Wilson's fit, McGuinness doesn't play. I think he's in the team. I think he's been forced maybe down that route with injuries. But yeah, you're right. I think Dyer is the guy. If we are going to go with people like Baggett next season, Gibbs, McGavin, Nelmazuni, Dobra. You're right. There's no point giving it to somebody like Lambert. But yeah, it's interesting and it's good we've tied him down, definitely.
But does this not lend to what I was saying midweek, Mike? Because I was telling the guys, Steve and Neil, before the Sunderland game, that if you're going to give any manager, Dyer or anybody, that sort of luxury of time, you need to come out and be open with the fans and say, look, we're installing a young manager, Kieran Dyer in this scenario, because it's a 5-year, 6-year, 3-year, 4-year plan of. Our expectation is a top 10 finish, say, for year one. Otherwise, This football club in the third tier will forever have the lofty expectation of being a top 3 side, regardless of who's manager. And when that expectation is not being met, as it isn't currently, will the fans not be back to square one with whatever manager is in place next time?
I mean, we're not even a top 10 side at the moment. Let's be honest. That's where we are. I think the frustration for a lot of fans is that we got relegated from the Championship, and there was a lot of what I call sort of experienced Championship players that came down to League One, and they've just not produced. There was a lot of talk about Chambers coming down. This will be his level. Well, I'm sorry, but if anybody needs to go at the end of the season, Chambers has got to go. I'm sorry, but yes, I've just had enough of hearing him and listening. I'm just watching him play football, and it's.
I think he may have to go for more what he means to the squad. Like, he's a real influential figure in the squad, and I think any time you've got a new manager, you've got to change everything, because this will be Chambers is what, third manager, fourth manager. He's been here since Jewel. It's a long time.
I know he's been here, but
honestly, Chelsea had to cut ties with John Terry, is what I'm trying to say. Like, at some point, you've got to cut the tie, because otherwise, you don't ever make a change.
John Terry offered something to Chelsea. Chambers...
Until he didn't, though, Mike. And then once he didn't, they didn't sit on the John Terry song that the fans used to sing. The management decided you don't offer the club anything anymore at this level. So I think it was VS Boas, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for your service. Let's move on.
Chambers shouldn't have been given a 2-year extension on his contract. I'm sorry, but he shouldn't. If we're seriously about taking this club forward, we need to like we are. Get these youngsters signed on contracts, get them playing. And I think every fan would have a lot more truck with Evans' plans if there was, like you said, if there was a manager that came in that really sort of was transparent with us on where he wants to go with the squad and stuff, and we could take a few losses. And like you said, Martin rightly said, okay, well, our objective is to try and get top 6. That's our objective, and let's go with that and see where we end up. But the problem is, and we are a big club. Anybody says we're not a big club, we are a big club. The problem is we're a big club in fighting against some very sort of smaller clubs, and they always up their game against us. We know that, but we should be last year, okay, bit of a hangover from a relegation, but this year, it's just been, like I said, it's been worse than last year for me personally.
And this is it, right, Joker? Because if you had, say, as Ben Moore just in the chat, Dylan Crowe at right back, if you had Idris El Mizani in the midfield, if you had Liam Gibbs in midfield, if you had all the young players and you were 11th, I think as a fan base, you wouldn't be happy about it, of course, but you'd be looking at it longer term and thinking, I can see something developing here. When Dyer left the first time around, Burley was building a squad. Dyer left, we brought a couple of players in that finished that plan off. At this point, you're always thinking, well, if we sell Wolfenden or Downs, it's not 2 players we're away from, it's 6, it's 7. We're not building anything.
It's just a concern that the guy running the football club ultimately is completely and utterly clueless, and that's the massive worry for me. Is that I could get on board, and there is a part of me that sort of is starting to get round to saying, do you know what? If all 19 of those players out of contract leave in the summer, then so be it. This club needs a massive, great clear out. But my worry is, and it's always been the concern, is that Evans and what he's got set up in the back, the backroom set up, dumping his money into people that know what they're on about in football, investing in some proper recruitment, how we look after our players. Can you see it happening? I just think short term, changing the manager will work. Longer term, it won't, because the same problems will raise their ugly head 2 or 3 years down the line. Whether we get Cook, Cowley brothers, whatever, same problem will raise its ugly head. And I don't know how much stomach supporters have got for more 5, 3, 4, 10-year plans that Marcus Evans comes out with, because it's just noise, isn't it? It's just he's done it before, 5-year plan or whatever, and it's just noise. It's just chod that he spins out the usual business speak, and that's what my concern is that until such point that this football club drags itself into the 21st century, actually starts operating like a proper football club, not trying to do things on the cheap, not trying to muddle through, then we just won't go anywhere. We won't. But and that's why I'm on the fences about whether or not I can get on board with a massive rebuild, because I'm massively concerned that he gets the next managerial appointment wrong, and then we stay in this division. And then the only way out of this division is the wrong way out of this division. Yeah, that's my concern.
Yes, is it? But I think the previous plan, that everyone refers back to the 5-point plan, was what you at the time as a fan wanted to hear. Don't forget, this is an owner that didn't go for Category 1 status of an academy. They decided at the time they wouldn't go for it as a club. Then the fans got upset, and he sort of backtracked on that decision, if I remember it correctly. I think the 5-point plan, number of academy players in the first team, blah, 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 was what you as fans wanted to hear. And I think everything since then has been the complete opposite of the plan. And even this summer, Lee O'Neill, we want to win the division. Well, Ollie Hawkins is not a player anybody with design. That's like Man United saying they want to win the Champions League and signing Luke Chambers. The two things do not belong in the same sentence. So you've got to make a plan, but stick to it and actually say, look, we are where we want to be on this plan. But you, as fans, if you see we're building youth and then we buy Duncan Ferguson, bring Duncan Ferguson out of retirement, for example, you'd say, well, hang on, those two things don't belong to each other.
Yeah, Luke Chambers is a case in point, and I think we probably look to sign his replacement in Kane Vincent-Young. Who is he in the end of the day, Kane Vincent-Young? But it's a failing on the football club that haven't replaced them. And I'm fairly sure, had he been fit, Cole Skewes would be playing this season. I'm fairly sure he'd be in central midfield. So, and that's not to say that I don't.
The slower gets slower then, Flatty, because we're slowers already.
We are. And that's not to say that I don't think Cole Skewes has been a half-decent servant. I think he used to do a lot of stuff that was underrated. He did a lot of the dirty stuff. But if you're still having to rely on a 34, 35-year-old man now, it's a failing in the football club and their ability to replace players, recruit players properly. And it's the same with Luke Chambers, that we're still having to rely on him now.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. But we are where we are. Simo, if we are rebuilding, I don't see a point in having two first-team. That's exactly the point.
Another pointless signing. I said it before. Pointless.
We all did it this summer. While Cornell sat on the bench twiddling his thumbs, we haven't got a striker. But it's okay because we've got another goalie if Holy...
Can he play up front? Can Cornell play up front? That's the question.
Stick Holy up front. I really,
Probably hold the ball up better than Hawkins.
Okay, big one coming up now. By not sacking Paul Lambert, has Evans shown contempt to the ITFC fans?
100%. Oh, he showed lots of contempt. His statement after what the papers put out. I mean, I was critical. So was Cruncher. So was a few other fans, the media. But the reality is that Evans straight away, or his PR team straight away, put out a statement. Oh no, we still back Lambert. I'm sorry, but it's just showing complete contempt to the fans. And my son said something very, very true today. Right, we come out of lockdown and suddenly we can all go to the football. Every fan is going to renew their season ticket because they've been stuck at home doing nothing. And 100%. Nothing is going to be gained. So Evans is the win-win situation. Lambert has still got his job, and we're still here talking about the same thing every week.
The 5-year extension or whatever the hell it was. Marcus Evans hasn't made many right decisions in his tenure. Let's be honest.
That's being kind.
That's being kind, yeah.
I could list them on a postage stamp.
Aside from Mick to start with, who was probably his best appointment, even that was allowed to go to pot because he couldn't manage him properly. The contract extension was it last January, wasn't it? Did it drop after? Was it the Wickham game on the 1st of January, wasn't it?
It dropped then, Sky. And we had those really bizarre comments after the Gillingham game on Boxing Day, the 0-0. Yeah.
That is the single worst decision he has ever made, I think, as Ipswich Town owner, is to give him a 4 or 5 year contract, knowing full well that our season was in free fall. And I know we picked up a bit in January, but was it 25 points in 25 games after we beat Fleetwood in October last season, which is relegation form? And I think it's now a millstone around the club's neck. And I, you know, part of me, I think I've come on here before and I've said that contracts don't stand for anything anymore. You know, you see clubs all the time breaking contracts and getting rid of people. But there's a part of me that isn't sure whether he can afford to sack him. Because if you were to suggest that he's on £500,000 a year, it's going to cost $2.5 million or whatever to sack him. Then, you know, that's not just him. That's Taylor. That's Gill. That's Jimmy Walker. Whether they decide to stay, and then that's bringing all his new people through. I just don't see. I mean, that's what £3, £4, £5 million turnaround to sack a manager and bring a new guy in.
Isn't the greatest amount for a man of his wealth? Because he is wealthy.
He is wealthy, but why hasn't he done it then? I don't know. Is he really that deluded to think things are good at the moment? Does he really think that there are green shoots? Because, you know, and obviously to suggest that what you see in the stadium is different to what you watch on iFollow again. I mean, he definitely, there was an element of him trolling the supporters. There had to have been. And then certainly with the statement that he made just before December, where he came out and he made the "be careful what you wish for" comment, which went down like a shit sandwich, didn't it? Let's be honest. You know, I don't know. There is a part of me that thinks he's massively trolling the supporters, and I don't know whether he's doubled down now, so he has to stick with it regardless of how bad it's getting, or whether he feels sorry for him because Lambert looks like he's on death's door when you see him interviewed. Whether he's worried about sacking an ill man, I don't know. But
he works in the UK, and under UK employment law, you have got sick leave. Like, you're not working in, you know, you're not working. You can take time off if you desperately need it, and everyone to a penny would say, "Oh, okay, I understand that completely." Like, so if it said tomorrow Lambert to take leave due to COVID, you wouldn't go, "Oh," you'd say, "Yeah, okay, that's a serious virus. You need to look after yourself," and nobody's saying anything different. But Mike, is Evans struggling more than we know in this pandemic? Because things like "be careful what you wish for," things like even more slower than normal action in terms of what's going on at the football club. Is he trying to spin too many plates? His own businesses, maybe his own personal life in terms of, you know, people at home when they're not normally at home, you know, kids, etc. The things we're all going through. He's a human being at the end of the day, the same as we all are. Is he trying to spin too many plates, and does things like the "be careful what you wish for" statement show that he's actually not quite got his finger anywhere near the pulse anymore, let alone the way it used to be?
It does seem that way. I mean, look, we could say giving Paul Lambert a 5-year deal right now was a shocking decision. At the time, I guess from Evans's point of view, he's got an experienced manager, been down here, been down at this league level, done well with Norwich. Things didn't quite work out with Wolves and Aston Villa or whatever, and Stoke. Maybe I should, give the fans what they want, something to sort of look forward to. But the problem is that, it hasn't worked out like that, and the more he allows Lambert to dig holes, the more he's taking Evans with him. And then when Evans comes out with statements like that, you think yourself, well, what are you doing? Are you concentrating on your business, or are you concentrating on Ipswich? What? I mean, he's in the entertainment industry. He must be hit hard financially by this pandemic, as Ipswich Town as a club, and like most football clubs, been hit hard. But when you've got a director of football in Lee O'Neill, I mean,
well, he's not director of football. He's head of football operations or general manager of football or something. He's not technically the DOF. That is a very title that they have not really given him. But yeah, Chris Blake says he can't imagine he's busy with tickets and events at the minute. Okay, fair point. But that in itself creates headaches if you're in that business. It's not as simple as, next week's Stereophonics concert's cancelled. Oh, well, never mind. Like, there's things that go on from there that have got huge ramifications. And do you know what I mean? So I'm just not sure where he's at. And because we don't see him and we can't speak to him, and Leo Neal's, as Crunch to learn in the chat, gone underground, There's the lack of noise from Portman Road is stoking the fire because
Clegg had more vocal. Clueless Clegg had more to say than O'Neill. You know, and that says a lot, doesn't it? Really.
Right, let's get on. Oh, good question, this one. Carrying on from the Evans, does Sheepshanks hold any responsibility for the owner and subsequent mess that we are in today?
Big question, that. I think Sheepshanks certainly has to take a lot of responsibility for the mess that we found ourselves in when we went down from the Premier League. Tried to do too much too soon. We always seem to go down in these situations at the wrong time. Didn't we go down in an ITV Digital went bust?
Yep.
And
no parachute payments, nothing.
No parachute payments or anything like that. So
classic town.
Classic town, exactly. I don't know whether the situation now we can hold Sheepshanks responsible. I mean, Evans has been in charge for what? How long has he been? Is it 13 years he's been in?
He has.
Was it longer than that?
But we're selling to Evans.
2007, wasn't it?
Was
selling to Evans.
We know the character who Evans is. You know, he's not a public figure. You can say
without knowing who the other buyers or potential interested parties were. You know, that's some information we probably won't ever know.
We weren't in administration. We were running, albeit not financially viable for much longer or profit wise. I can't remember what the financial accounts were at the time. We weren't minus 12 points out of a derby or a Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Mike, you know, you knew who Evans was before you sold the club to him. Is some of the mess we're in now because of the lack of transparency, the lack of communication, the 12% board that's been dissolved recently? Is that right? Like, are things as sold or not? I don't know. I'm asking you.
Look. My opinion is this: is that you know, the second season in the Premier League, we spent silly money on some silly players, and we then decided to start redeveloping stands, which meant some fans weren't in the ground, which meant, you know, we had no real. Didn't seem a lot, you know. It just didn't seem like Portman Road with half a step with a stand empty. The Sheepshanks for me has got to take the responsibility of putting us into the administration. He's got to take that responsibility. Evans took over and took a £30 million, bought the club for £30 million or whatever it was, and took a £30 million debt, which was brilliant. Then spent a little bit of money with Keane, wrong appointment there. And all he's done is just taken us backwards as an owner. There's been no progression. We had an opportunity under Mick McCarthy when we were top of the league at Christmas to, right, Mick, okay, look, go out. It's £3 million. Now, bear in mind, £3 million is bugger all in the transfer market. Go out, get a couple of players for that, you know, and add a couple of loanees if you need to be. Let's win this league and get promoted. No
Absolutely.
Investment. And where do we end up now? We are where we are now because of Evans. Sheepshanks. Sorry.
No, go on. No, carry on.
No, like I say, I'll just repeat myself. Sheepshanks has got to take responsibility for our administration and how we allowed the certain players to come in. But
you think because you know Norwich have very similar sort of ownership to how it was under Sheepshanks? You know, Delia's front and central, whether you like her or you don't. She's front and central. She's there at the pre-season game in her deck chair. You know, you can't say about her she's not a fan. Do you think we're suffering now because under Sheepshanks, doesn't matter what was going on, admin or otherwise, Sheepshanks was there to kind of not make it better, but somebody you could look at, see in the paper, see in the ground, in your seat, look at the director's box, and there he'd be, front and central. You knew he was there. You knew it mattered to him as much as it did to you, or you thought it did. Is some of the issue we're facing now because you don't know if Evans is there. You don't know what Evans thinks. You don't know how Evans feels. You don't know nothing about nothing.
You didn't know what he looked like for 6 or 7 years, did we? No one.
So it's not yours, is it? It's not. No. It's not yours. It's very much like that. You know, arm's length. Mine, and you're the fan.
playing sort of devil's
social distancing when he came into the club, didn't he?
Playing devil's advocate a little bit. You can see why, take ourselves back to when that situation arose. You could see why Marcus Evans would have been an attractive proposition to Sheepshanks to sell the club. A rich businessman wanted, aspirations of getting into the Premier League. Roy Keane at the time, I think he'd taken Sunderland up from the Championship, so he sort of knew the division. I suppose it was a vanity project from Evans' point of view that he wanted this big sort of flash name. I can spend a few quid and I can get Ipswich promoted. And I think the problem is because it hasn't happened so quickly, it's just gone swirled down the toilet bowl, hasn't it? But you can see why there was the attraction there to sell to somebody like him, a wealthy individual who at the time had the right, interests for the club at heart. But it's not panned out that way, has it? Sadly.
Yeah, and you can't blame anybody for things 13 years later. It's that's just something you can't do. Right, on to the word. Let's go. I'll tell you what, I'm going to bypass that one and I'm going to give you a different one for the time being. I'll come back to that one. I want to ask you first, with Jackson suspended, Norwood injured, Sears and Drinnan your only 2 fit strikers for Crewe, does that kind of sum up the state of the club at the moment?
What a mess. What a mess. Yeah, it could. If we'd have sat here at the start of the season and said, end of January, we'll be relying on Aaron Drynan as our single fit striker, you'd go, what the fuck are you talking about? You're having a laugh, aren't you? What a state. What a state of affairs.
Is he fit?
Ted Phillips and Ray Crawford. Ted Phillips is dead and Ray Crawford's got to be in his 80s, but they're both better than what we've got. It's a mess. I said it earlier. It's a failure of recruitment of this football club, and certainly even more so if they knew Hawkins was going to be out longer term last week and they did F all about it. We might sign someone tomorrow, but it's going to be someone that either hasn't played any football championship level that's not fit enough, or it's going to be a kid who's only played under 23s football.
Well, I think, Mike, when he was asked after the Sunderland game, would you now actively try and bring a striker in, or will you try and bring a striker in, or something like that? I think his response was maybe.
Who knows?
I mean, you've just lost your main striker. He's come back from fitness for 3 games, at least 3 games. You've got Hawkins out for 6. Norwood, well, again, who knows? Would the answer be maybe, or would it be we'll definitely try and see what we can do?
We need to do something about this. I was just looking. Blackpool signed a lad from, and I know it was only Wigan the other night, Ellis Sims, I think his name was. Mm-hmm. Took a punt on him, quite highly rated Everton youngster striker. I think he scored 2 goals the other night. And I know it was against Wigan, and I know they are sort of whipping boys, but they've taken a punt on him. He was a youngster, scored quite a few goals at Everton's under 23s, but I don't know. I mean, I don't even know who's out there. We're not going to sign anyone for any cash, are we? Let's be honest. We're not parting money on anyone. It's going to be a freebie or it's going to be a loan. I don't know.
Andy Snowswell says, play on both up front as a 2, mate. That could be the dream partnership. If that's his dreams, fuck knows what his nightmares look like. Jesus.
I keep looking at our squad, and I keep looking at the other 20.
Don't do it too long, Mike. You might lose. Oh wait, no, you've lost your rest.
No, you'll definitely get nightmares if you look at it for too long.
Oh, don't! It is really hard to see where goals are coming from, especially with the formation. We keep harping on it, but
that's got to give, hasn't it? It's got to give. Surely the formation has to give at some point, doesn't it?
Well, there's been a few ex-players and stuff saying stuff, haven't they? So, but I know.
But who do you play up front? Because if you play 2 up front, Mike, Adam, it is Drinnan and Sears at this point. I mean,
yeah, well, like, that's it.
Simpson.
You know,
Simpson's
if I want
give it another
to
chance,
Nick and Eddie Hearn mean, if I want a 9-inch, you know what? Don't make it true, does it? Just 'cause I want one. Like Drinnan and Sears up front as a 2 ain't going to work. So you can want 2 up front all you like.
But I don't. But Drinnan up front on his own. Turning up front on his own.
I think something's got to give. Something has got to give. Look, at the end of the day, we are where we are, and if we get a result against Crewe at the weekend, that'd be a shocker. But
I mean, is there anybody else in the squad that could play a striker? I mean, doesn't Jack Lancaster? Can he play a striker? Could he play?
Simpson, Cruncher
brilliant.
Could we have? Could you sort of shuffle it around and play? I don't know, Lancaster and someone else maybe.
Cardboard cutout, says Lee Bayliss.
I think the bigger point.
I think you're right,
is
Adam. I think you're right. I think you're right in saying Lancaster up front is an option. But I think anytime you do that, I'm going to guarantee you, 5 people, match day ticket, full-time show, telling me he played Lancaster out of position, he played Thomas out of position, he's still not playing with 2 recognised strikers. Like, as fans, you're right to say that, but every time he looks at a different option or two, it always smells of but it's still not 4-4-2.
No. What about Dobber what about Dobber up front? I know it's not his natural position, but he knows where the net is. He knows where the net is more than Hawkins does.
But
Hawkins is out for 6 weeks. You can't blame Hawkins. I mean, right now Hawkins looks attractive.
Yeah, in a plaster cast.
We're in 3 a.m. 12 pints down the road territory here. Hawkins is looking attractive as the striker, but he's got a plaster cast on.
I'd want to be 2 bottles of JD before I'm telling you.
But no, seriously, he scored a goal.
Yeah, I mean, the same people that would moan about playing people out of position will moan when we play Drinan up front on his own and he looks isolated. So, you can't, what can you do? It's just a mess in it at the moment. It really is. The squad is horrendously imbalanced. Glut of midfielders, no strikers, no fullbacks.
Why did we go and get more midfielders? I don't understand it. We got loads. Why did we?
If
it's
we
called
knew
panic shopping.
If we knew
I've got 400 loo rolls upstairs.
Are you really telling me that suddenly, out of the blue, Hawkins has turned up to training one day with a plaster cast on and said, "By the way, I've just had surgery. I'm going to be out for 6 weeks," and they've all gone, "What the fuck? We didn't know about that shit. What are we going to do?"
Buy midfielder.
There's no way that's happened. If the club have known that he's injured and he needs surgery, then it's negligent that they've not gone home and bought a striker ahead of anybody else. Knowing that they've rushed Norwood back before. He was rushed back before, wasn't he? He was rushed back before.
Know for
sure. There's a rumour, like we've been like Jackson hasn't played, and a few times he hasn't played. He's been benched or he's been up in the stands watching. There's a rumour that he's not been injured at all, and he's just had fallouts with Lambert.
I have seen that circulate, but that is just a rumour at this point.
Yeah, it's a rumour. I've just said that. It's a rumour.
Just to clarify, Alex Griffin says,
players are falling out.
Realistically, can you lads see Harrop changing our season? I'm going to say I think it's too early. I think it's unfair to put that much pressure on a young lad coming in on loan after an injury and after COVID, because we don't know what COVID does to the human body, and then we're all humans at the end of the day. Well, we do know what it does, but hopefully not like that. But what do you two think?
I like the fact that he's had serious injuries in the past. He's had didn't he do his cruciate or something? He'd be out for.
Yes.
He'd been out for. Here we go. You can see it now a mile off. You can see it now.
You eat Le Pen.
Who's the guy? So he misses this weekend, doesn't he? And then we haven't got a game, have we, in the week? And then who is it after? Is it Blackpool? I don't know.
No, I think we have.
I've lost track of
a game during the week.
Is it a game after the? Because
we got Saturday.
I thought it was a clear week.
Crewe.
No,
we've got Crewe on Saturday, and then following Saturday Blackpool, then Tuesday Peterborough, Saturday Shrewsbury.
Is he back for? Is he back for? I don't know which game he's back for. Does he miss this one, and then does he miss the Blackpool game? I don't know. Whichever game he comes back in, you can be sure. You can be sure. You can be sure as shit that he'll break down, and that'll be the end of it, and we'll see 5-10 minutes of him.
The milk tray man will have his bingo card ready. Do not worry. Do not worry. Right. Alan is the guy. All right. What is the Crewe lineup going to be then? What do we want to see then, guys? What do we want to see versus Crewe? Maybe it is a 4-4-2, Adrinan and Sears up front. Maybe it's not a 4-4-2.
I'm going to be honest. That's what I put. I was thinking about this all day long. I've watched a couple of. I've recorded a couple of games. I watched our game. I'm going to be controversial, as I always am, and I'll probably get this wrong, and I'll probably get stick for it. But as much as I don't like it, Chambers is our only option right back. Wolfie and McGuinness are our only options in the middle at the moment. But I'd play Kenlock on the left. I would.
I'd say the same.
For me, I can't see what Ward offers. I would play 4-4-2. I'd play Edwards on the left, Bishop and Downs in the middle, and I'd play Lancaster on the right, and I'd play Sears and Drilling up front. That's all we've got, really. And then just have like Dobra, players like that, Thomas on the bench, Dazelle on the bench. I don't think Dazelle deserves a start at the moment. He was good for the first 10 minutes the other night, and the rest of the game he was absolute dog shit. I'm going to say it. So, but that's me. I've done it. Woo.
What I think he'll actually do, I think Mike's right. I think Kenlock comes in at left back. McGuinness and Wolfenden, because I think Enciala's injured, isn't he? I think there's an injury there. So Chambers plays at right back, and then I think maybe Dazelle does get dropped. I think maybe he puts Nolan and Downs as the 2. Bishops comes back as the 10, maybe, and it will be Dryanen, Edwards, and Thomas. That's what I think. I think that's the formation. I think we know that's coming. I'll be staggered if he plays 4-4-2.
He won't. He won't. He won't. You might want him to, but I don't think he will. I think in a time when we've got so many midfielders, I don't know what Andre's done to keep the shirt.
I'm surprised he hasn't had a rest, been taken out of the firing line for a bit. But we've had sort of injuries, haven't we? Downs has been out for a while. Nolan's been out for a while. He's thought he's had no other choice, and does he trust McGavin for a bigger run of games? Does he trust Dobra, El Mazzuni?
Not, because he's chucked him out of the team, and we're not seeing him for how long now? No. I just don't know what Andre's done to keep warrant the selection and fans sort of putting him in their 11s. And obviously, you two haven't here, which was interesting. I don't think Mike did. I think I missed Mike's midfield. I wouldn't play him. I don't think he does enough for me.
No.
He's
I would play him. I'd play him in that more forward role. I think he could. You could see sometimes there's that bit. There is that little bit of talent.
Not quick enough though, Mike. He's so markable.
Who's that? What?
Andre. He's so markable. Like as a whole midfield play, even Cole Skewes, for example, bit of experience. I know he's not quickest, but neither is Andre. So you could back pocket Andre and. Whereas Dobra, you have to worry about that pace because as a player, if you haven't got it, you haven't got it. So you've got to allow an extra yard or two. Whereas Dozell is not. He's not fast. He's not trickery. He's good with the ball, but not consistent.
Oh, consistency's out the window with him, isn't it?
I do think he needs willing runners, doesn't he, Dozell? If you are going to play to his strengths and you are going to play someone like Downs next to him who's going to do his dirty work, then you do need some movement, and you need your fullbacks to offer up as well. And I just don't think there's enough. Certainly, there's not enough at the moment in the side. That's not to say that I don't think he's been playing well. He hasn't. He probably does need a game or two out of the firing line, maybe, to recharge the batteries. I mean, we've got to appreciate this is the first proper full season that he's had. His career has been blighted by injuries, stop-start. So this is the first time he's played consistent run of games. So maybe he does need a game or two out on the sidelines, maybe.
Absolutely right. Last two on the board. Here we go. Right. Question from one of the Facebook posters today. He posted this on the forum. Mike did love it. When we get 3 points against Crewe at the weekend, will everyone suddenly start loving Lambert again? Is it not time to get behind the manager?
I think it's gone past that now. I even think now wins are... People don't even enjoy wins anymore.
Matt
I
Phillips
do.
doesn't
I
he?
do. I always want to see Ipswich win, but I generally think that there's a big portion of our fan base that want us to lose as many games as possible in order to expedite Paul Lambert's exit from the football club. That's what I think. But I don't know. I don't know if you guys agree, but I think that there is an element of our fan base that wants us to lose on Saturday because they think it might mean that Lambert goes. And I think even if we were to win, the response from a lot of people would be, "Oh, it just prolongs the inevitable. It's a false dawn because we'll beat Crewe and then we'll lose our next two," or something like that. I don't think it would be met with any, "Yeah, we can build on this."
Agree.
I think Lambert's burnt his bridges. That's my opinion. The way he comes out when we all sat there and we're sat there watching on iFollow, we're watching the absolute dross week in, week out, and then for him to turn around and say, "Oh no, I'm really proud of the players. They really put a shift in. They really done well," and all that, and you think, do you really watch the games that we are watching? And I'm sorry, but that to me, and his arrogance over, well, if Marcus wants me gone, he'll get rid of me. Oh, do you know what, Paul? Just go. I didn't want you here in the first place, so you have never had my support from day one. I don't want no ex-scummer at my club. I really don't.
I think that whole
Jack
appointment.
does.
I think
Jack
the whole
Messenger does.
appointment.
If we win
Yeah,
Saturday,
I don't
Lambert in, lads, up a Lambert.
Yeah, he's a troll.
I think
Jack.
because we were just so low when Paul Hurst was here, that Paul Lambert coming in, sort of the ex-Norwich thing was sort of swept under the carpet, wasn't it? The fact that he was an ex-Norwich Hall of Fame, because we were so low, because we were bottom, I think was sort of maybe swept aside because we were thinking, crikey, if he keeps us up, he'll be the Messiah. But no, I think he's done. I think his time's done. I think he's done with a lot. A lot of the supporters are done with him, and I think he would have to go 5-10 games unbeaten, winning most of them before I think even some supporters would even consider supporting him again. I think it's that bad.
Yeah. You'd need months of sustained sort of wins and consistency.
Definitely.
And suddenly,
Playoffs.
yeah. Well, not even that. I think top three, and you'd be looking like you've not lost in 12, 14, 16. You'd be looking a long run to get fans back on side. And then if you did by some miracle win promotion, the moment it goes Pete Tong in the championship, we're right back
Knives
to the
around.
fans. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
There's no
Definitely.
grace anymore. He's lost that. Ian Peters, do you think O'Neill could be used as a scapegoat by Evans? A new DOF rather than a manager. Interesting. Not thought of that one.
I mean, he's got Lee O'Neill juggling about 5 plates, hasn't he, at the moment, I think, at the football club. From what you can gather, he's doing all sorts of stuff there, isn't he? He's doing recruitment, he's doing transfers, he's doing behind-the-scenes director of football stuff, season ticket stuff. He's involved in everything, but yeah, I don't know. Would it surprise you if Evans threw him under the bus? Probably not.
If he's doing recruitment, I'd keep it quiet.
Well, he isn't doing recruitment, is he, Martin? Because he's not doing very well at it, is he? Either.
No.
That last message you put up there, that last reply someone put up there, what was that, Martin? Something about Stuart Taylor, wasn't it?
Oh, that was from Mike D. Taylor needs to be held to account too. His training sessions must be dire.
100%. 100%.
Well, this is what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, sorry.
This is sorry, Mike. We're talking about if they were to furlough Lambert, what does that mean then? Taylor gets the hot seat for a group of games. I mean, that's an even more terrifying thought, I suppose.
But that's the problem. I absolutely agree. We're sitting there, fans are all sat there and say the same thing regarding Lambert, but Stuart Taylor's got to take responsibility himself as a coach. Was he advising? Because we've said this before. Ian Culverhouse was the tactics with Paul Lambert, and maybe Paul Lambert's great at man management, but tactically he needs to get rid of that Stuart Taylor because he's clueless.
But the problem becomes, Mike, I think he's such a dead in the water manager that nobody's going to want to uproot, move to Suffolk to be his assistant manager in 3 weeks' time. Could be out of a job. And you would have thought the ownership would be saying no changes at this moment to any coaching staff, because They don't want to suddenly have a new guy in the job that they've got to, rip the contract up. Like, I get what you're saying. I just think that's gone past that point.
Yeah,
We're now
of
at
course,
that point
yeah.
where it's either 12 wins in 14 or it's what point is this going to be mathematically impossible? So he's shown that. I just think it is. It's that, and we all know which way it's going. It's going the wrong way. If you're want to see the club win, which I know we all do. Mike D, Taylor manager at Dundalk, 31% win rate.
There you go.
But not all assistants are good managers. Look at old Terry, Big Tell, mixed assistant. He wasn't the greatest he wasn't the greatest manager on his own, but ahead of a Friday afternoon training session, I hear.
Cool. He put on some good striking sessions, didn't he, according to the lads?
That's what I hear.
Look, it's the standards at this football club have just gone through the trap door, aren't they? And they are at the bottom of the barrel at the moment. What you mentioned earlier about Evans trolling, is he trolling the supporters? You think his initial statement before Christmas was, we want to get in the top two. O'Neill said before the start of the season we want to win the league. Then his statement after the East Anglian called for him to be sacked is we can still make the playoffs. In a week or two's time, it will be we want to score a first half goal.
Well, we ain't done that. We ain't done that in a long time.
And the next thing will be we're staying in League One. What more do you want? That's just the standards of this football club have just eroded to the point where mid-table League One is seemingly where Evans thinks this football club is.
And I think we'll cover this in the summer, but I think it creeps in from the cups, the way we treat the cups. I think the moment you start treating any game with a lack of real due care and attention and energy to win, slowly those sorts of defeats every time in the cup, particularly this year, they creep in. We had a real opportunity to win the group, I think, or certainly go through from the group, and we kind of said, "Nah, we're okay, thanks." And I think that just filters through that losing mentality, and that just,
yeah.
We've not had good cup runs, have we, for a long time. It's always been, we'll get out, FA Cup, UEFA, call UEFA Cup, that'd be first, be a while. FA Cup, the Mickey Mouse Cup, and then we got the paint by numbers cup. I mean, let's be honest, we've not done well in any of them, have we, really?
I think we could be forgiven if we got promoted last year. No one would have given two hoots about our cup runs. But I think in lieu of what we've seen on the pitch last season and this season, I think certainly If you're not going to be asked with the league and you're just happy to accept mediocrity, then okay, give us a cup run or two then, for crying out loud,
Yeah, and that's the key word. And I think, as Jack says here, no standards set at the club. And that's it, standards. Like, you've got to have... and Alan Lee says today, the Ipswich way. What was the Ipswich way? It was good players, mixing it up, not playing a certain way, but playing the game to win, I think he said. And I think that's right. It's standards, isn't it? It's a standard of, we're Ipswich Town Football Club. We will qualify from this Papa John's group. We will go through from the third round. You almost will yourself, and by willing yourself, you put your best foot forward. Whereas at the moment, it's kind of we'll concentrate on finishing 14th in the Championship. And now it's suddenly, we're focused on finishing 14th in... we're just accepting consistent erosion.
What Stevie Shrimpton said there is some people, I think, and Radio Suffolk touched on it. And I know, Mike, you've said as well before about Brenner and his interviews being pretty powder puff. I mean, he came out with a comment apparently against Peterborough that said, what a scalp this will be if we can beat Peterborough. And that's like, really? A scalp to beat Peterborough at home? Is that what it's come to? That we're happy that we're not losing at home to Peterborough? And I mean, that's what we mean about standards. It's just that I'm not saying that we've got a God-given right to beat any of these teams. We haven't. A lot of these teams are far better coached, far better run than we have. But we've got a right to expect that we compete and, we do our damnedest on and off the pitch to try and get out of this division.
As much as me and Jack on social media don't agree, I actually agree with that. It's that'll do mentality. And that's where we are. Well, that'll do. That'll do. No, we're better than that. We're Ipswich. And like you say, Peterborough, a scalp. Oh, we'll get a scalp we'll scalp them. No, a scalp is in the FA Cup, knocking Man United out, knocking Man City out. That's a scalp. I mean, that weren't even a haircut against Peterborough, let's be honest.
And there we go, right, where we've gone well over the half an hour, but it's 54 minutes in the bank. I love it. I love it. Final words before we close. Will we win? One word, yes or no. Adam, will we win Saturday?
No, draw.
Mike?
Oh God, do you know what? I just got a feeling we'll win. I'm gonna. Do you know what? I'm gonna go for a 2-0 win, and I know 2 goals. That's gonna. You heard it here first. I'm gonna be Mr Positive tonight. Hey, what happened? Where's the Alan Lee comment gone? Oh,
I said it. I said it. Yeah, he just said about us playing the right way, not playing in our own half, and the Ipswich Town way being good players. And I was going to say about, is that now a sign of the times where good players cost money and we haven't got any? But I thought, you know what, we've hammered Evans enough times tonight. We ain't got to hammer him again.
I'd have Alan Lee up front, actually. I'd play him on Saturday, Alan Lee, up front on his own.
I have to say, I think I would.
I wish I had a joke there, but I haven't. I wish I had a joke there, but I haven't. Anyway, well, I'm back Saturday, 2:30 with the match day ticket. We've got Robbie Davies and Amy Downs covering the Crewe game with myself, so that will be absolutely fun. With love, with care, from Adam to the Fisherman, from myself. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you all at the weekend. Adios, my friends.
Hello and welcome to Portman Road. This sound indicates an important announcement.